So we are recording. Yes, we are. All right, so we're going to get right started and we'll cover some materials that got kicked out. Yes. Okay, we're going to cover some topics regarding preparation outlines today. So who'd like to go first? I'll put us in the speaker view. Anyone volunteer to go first? Nobody's volunteering to go first? Okay. Let's see. How about Joe? Want to go first, Joe? Okay. Not really, Professor, but if you insist.
All right, let's break the ice. All right. Second. All right. Just to get it clear, it's just the introduction, right?
Right, just the introduction. And this is practice.
Got it. Okay. So here we go. So imagine growing up with someone who not only told stories of courage, but lived them. Someone who turned every hardship into a lesson about strength and love. That person for me was my grandpa, James Lupo. His life experiences and wisdom shaped who I am today. Everyone has someone who inspires them. And today, I believe we can learn just a little bit of the type of courage that my grandpa had and the dedication that he displayed being a grandfather to me. My grandpa James is my impressive person because with the wisdom gained from a life of struggle, serving in the military, he instilled in me values of courage, resilience, and the importance of family. I had the privilege of growing up close to my grandpa. I enjoyed endless hours of listening of his stories about how he overcame poverty, survived the war, and hearing all the reasons on why not to grow old so fast. His lessons became the foundation of my values and who I became now as an adult, and which is why I feel confident sharing what I learned today from him. Today, I want to talk about who my grandpa James was, what he experienced in life, and what I learned from him.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Okay, so let's go through some of this. Okay. So you started out with your attention getter, and you said imagine someone who not only told stories of courage, but they lived them, and you told us all that. But I think that we need to move some of that to your body as supporting materials for your main points and come up with a different question. Because while you did ask a question, you did a little revealing a little bit too much in your attention getter. So you might want to consider something like, have you ever met someone who um, who the way that they live their life inspires you? Something like that. See how much more broad that is? and more intriguing about, well, what is he getting ready to talk about? So think about that when you are asking a question, that the question doesn't reveal too much, and that is that information best served as supporting materials, because I can really use that as examples to further explain my main points. Um, so looking at your central idea, I think you had a mouthful there, but we can narrow it down to be a little more concise in nature. So you might want to consider something like my grandpa James is my impressive person because of his courage, resilience, love of family, and service to his country and others. See how that's a little less wordy in terms of sticking in the minds of the listener? Because remember, our job is to guide our audience through our message the way we intend for it to be. And we want to do it as easily as possible. Okay. So, with that said, then you wanted you did a good job moving into your reveal and relate. Where you said that person for me is my grandpa. Okay, so now you're revealing some. And you might want to add something about, and that's an example of why he's my impressive person. Because remember, part of the reveal is my impressive person, right? Um, and then relating it to somebody, to the audience. Um, you said everyone has someone who inspires them. Now, then you say, so today I'm going to talk about, but that really belongs as your central idea. So then you just move straight into that central idea there. Um, and you're going to state it like we talked about earlier, a lot less wordy in the nature. You did a great job with establishing the credibility. Um, when you talked about that you had the privilege of growing up close with him, and you spent a lot of hours listening to his stories and experiences, and almost kind of lived vicariously through some of those experiences. You did an excellent job there. Now, on the main points, you might want to go back to some of those characteristics that we talked about in the central idea, because to say, so let's first take a look at who grandpa was, that's really too broad. Remember, we used that in our working outline when we didn't really know exactly what we're going to say or do, but now we progressed and we know what we're going to talk about. So preview some of those qualities and then start in right there. The next main point. Good job. Okay, who's next? Rihanna, you want to go next?
Yes.
Okay. Now remember, don't let your face get cut off. Okay, there we go.
I know. I'm trying to remember. Um, have you ever met someone whose strength and faith made you want to become a better person? Someone who always reminds you that no matter how hard life gets, you should keep trusting God. Today, I'll be talking about my friend's mother, Gloria, who I also call my spiritual mom, and why she's the most impressive person in my life. She has faced many hardships, but never lost her faith. Her example and encouragement has helped me grow stronger in my own walk with God. I've known her for years, and during that time, she has supported me through prayer, advice, and genuine care. In my speech, I'll show how she's overcame challenges, how her faith continues to guide her, and how she has helped me build a closer relationship with God.
Okay. And then don't forget that transition into, well, it could be connected as necessary, but usually right there is a transition from
Got you.
the introduction into the conclusion. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let's take a look at um, some things we can point out for you as well. So I see where you really took my advice in some of the comments that I made to you in your working outline. That's good. And I want everybody to do that because it will help you to get a better grade on your assignments. Now, um, your attention getting material, I think, was more like Joel, where you kind of really revealed the qualities of the person that you're going to talk about. So maybe want to step back and be a little more broad based in your question for something maybe like, have you ever known someone who just seemed to be so angelic when you get around them? Okay, they seem to have a very special relationship with God and faith. Now it's not so much as revealing those things that you're going to actually talk about. You know what I'm saying? So try moving that information that you gave into the body of your speech as supporting material for your main points. Also, in the reveal and relate, you continue on talking about the qualities of Miss Gloria, but in this section, you have to reveal what is your topic, right? So you want to maybe say something like, for me, that person is Miss Gloria, my friend's mother. See? All right. And then you you can try to some way connect how is Miss Gloria's message that you want to give about Miss Gloria, how does that connect with your audience? Okay, so in some way you want to try to say like we did with Joel, you want to try to pick on something that maybe talk more about inspiration. Um, we all know somebody who can inspire us just by their presence, something like that. But in some way, connect that message that you're going to give to the audience to further draw them in to your message and being attentive to your message, most importantly, because once we lose their attention, then it's hard to get it back. Um, then the next thing you would do is just restate that central idea as we expressed earlier. And then the next thing is you have to establish your credibility and your goodwill. Now that would be talking about how long you knew Miss Gloria, how often you were around her and experienced some of the things that she talked about and found them to be true. And it's why you are expert, so to speak, on speaking about her, or like Joel said, I feel comfortable talking to you about this because I do know something about it, about this person. And then finally, in the preview of the message, we're going to go back to that central idea and those characteristics that we talked about. And that's what we're going to say in our preview of the message, because that's what we're going to talk about, right? How Miss Gloria has trust in God, excuse me, um, perseveres through all kinds of challenges, all those things pardon me, that we talked about in the central idea. And then, of course, a transition that moves you from the introduction. So now we're going to first take a look at how Miss Gloria's faith in God inspires me. Okay. Okay. All right. Who is next?
Professor, I'll go next.
Okay.
John Lee.
Okay, John. Let me see.
All right.
Hold up. Let me find your paper. One person didn't write on their paper. I think it's Caden, but I'm not sure. Okay. All right, Jonathan. We're ready.
All right. Good evening. Have you ever known someone and you were just inspired by the way that they live their life? People take inspiration from their role models, and role models can come from many different sectors of society, the military, business, or entertainment. But the best role models all have values-based lives that disproportionately inspire the people around them. My Uncle David is my impressive person because he taught me that meaning in life is found through service to others. Throughout my summers in school, he would take me to car shows and racing events. He was present throughout my life at countless family reunions, and he inspired me to join the military. It is not only because of how he served this country in the Navy and how he continued to be active in his family's life, but because he led a life of hard work, leadership, and service. These characteristics made for a strong combination, resulting in a lifelong impact. Let's examine why my uncle was a strong role model for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Deliver very confidently, strongly. I would say look at the camera a little bit more, and read a little less. Um, so first, looking at your central idea, I think that we can, in the written central idea, I think that we can narrow it down some to just pick out those characteristics that make Uncle David your impressive person. So it seems like what I got from what you wrote was that he's hardworking, correct? He exhibits leadership, and he inspired you to join the military.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay,
I
all
think I was
right.
just kind of tying that into, service.
Yes, yes. Okay, so now for the spoken central idea, you could, you know, not exactly say it that direct. But the reason why, again, we write that written central idea is so that we're very sure about what those main points are that we're going to talk about. So it's crucial that you get that down. Like, what's the three main things I want to talk about? Or however many. Remember, we can have 2 to 5 main points. Okay. All right. So getting into your actual introduction, I think it's extremely similar to the example, right? So we want to try to move towards our own ideas as opposed to, relying on that. I know it's a quick fix, but practice this. And this is the time to do it in these speeches, so that now you're ready for those that are worth 20% each, the informative and the persuasive. So yeah, it's pretty good. Okay. So as well, you did reveal some when you said role models can come from many different, so well, it really wasn't a reveal. Um, so in some way you gotta say, so Uncle David is that role model for me. And it's an example of why he's my impressive person. Okay. That's the reveal. That right there is the reveal. You don't have to necessarily say why, because all that stuff about why and the supporting material for how, all that needs to be moved into your body as supporting materials. You'll find it very useful there as opposed to here. You don't really need it there. And then, of course, restate that, oh, in some way relate that message back to the audience. How does that connect with them? Well, we all know somebody who inspires us, maybe just by their presence or the way they live their lives, or um, how they stand up for others. In some way, we know somebody like this who inspires us. Now, I felt like then you started really going into like your English background that you may have of writing a paper. But remember, that's not what we do in speeches. So the next thing you would do is express that central idea as we talked about, and then establish your credibility. Okay, tell us why we should believe what you said. Tell us why you are a quote expert on Uncle David. Well, I've been knowing Uncle David all my life, and Uncle David and I have been very close. He often tells me many stories and experiences that he has had, and they're riveting. Okay, so now we can say, okay, well, yes, Jonathan knows Uncle David pretty well. He's an authority on speaking about him. And then finally, we preview that those main points by tying back to those characteristics that we talked about. Now, I know you said, well, you kind of did that, like in your body. You said you talked about hard working. That's where I got those from. And you talked about military service. So what I did, I think you said he was a veteran or something like that, right?
Yes,
But
he was in the
not
Navy.
only was he uh, offer his services to the country, but to others as well. So we want to get that in there too, because that's really special. Um, and then finally, that transition from the introduction into the body would be something like, so now let's first take a look at how hardworking an individual my Uncle David is. Okay. Good job. Good job.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'll incorporate all those.
Yep. Okay, who's next?
I can go next. Go next.
Okay, Kurt. Oh, hold on.
So
All right.
we're just doing our introduction, correct?
Just the introduction, yes.
Okay, copy. Okay. So my name is Kurt Strank, and I just wanted to pose an idea. Mary Shelley writes, "Nothing contributes to tranquilize the mind as a steady purpose." There are people in this world who have so comprehensively found their purpose that its mere product inspires all who encounter them. In my life, I've met such a person. His name was Trevor Heinrich. He was a friend of mine in high school, and we very quickly became best friends. He introduced me to my faith, one of the greatest things in my life. And he showed me the idea that some people simply follow their passions and as a result, influence all of those around them. My friend Trevor, being one such person, was one of the people who inspired me most through his simple lessons every day. He was a whetstone that strengthened and sharpened me and many others into the person that I am and who they are solely through his impressive life. He did this within the realms of music, ideology and ethics, and spirituality.
Okay. All right. Okay, so let's look at that central idea. Well, first, the specific purpose that you wrote had really two ideas. So We want to try to stick to one distinct idea and keep it simple. So you might want to say something like, so for my audience, why my friend Trevor is my impressive person. And in your central idea, again, I think you made a statement about he was a whetstone that helped me grow into the person that I am today in your central idea. So, and at first you talked about musically, ideologically, and spiritually.
Well, that was like me setting up the three like body paragraphs, I guess. It was like
Okay,
my
and
thesis
that's
statement.
great. That is great. But let's stick with the assignment. So you say he's an incredible person, but really he's your impressive person, right? So stick with the assignment. Make sure in some way you get that in there. That Trevor is your best friend. Trevor is your impressive person because of the way he. You said the person who followed his callings. Um, okay, because of how he carries him, or because of his expertise or knowledge, musically, ideology, ideologically, sorry, and spiritually. Okay, keeping with those main points that you want to talk about, that's fine. But the rest of what you're saying, I think you can move into your body as part of your supporting materials. Okay. All right. So let's move. And again, that statement that you made, it might be good at the end um, as a metaphor, but you don't want to use that type of figurative language in your central idea. We have to be literal about what we say. Okay, your attention getting, it was great. But then when it was time for you to reveal and relate, you started talking again about his qualities. So you want to, in some way, say that person for me is my best friend Trevor, and this is an example of why he's my impressive person. And then all the rest of the stuff that you talked about, his faith. Some people follow their passions. Um, that all that can move again as supporting material. You do say in here though, my friend Trevor is such a person, but all the rest of the things that you're adding in that describing Trevor, use that as supporting materials in the body of your message. And I don't see where you related that back to your audience. So in some way, relate that back to your audience by talking about how, most of us know someone who inspires us. Then again, you had the points down that you wanted to preview as your main points. So that was good. I didn't see a transition though. So make certain that you make that transition from the introduction into the body so that the audience is clear. Okay, we're moving into the meat of the message now. Okay, thank you, Kurt. All right. Who is next?
I can go next, Professor.
All right, Mohammed, let me get your speech. We'll take it one at a time. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing okay. Uh, So this impressive person speech is about my mother. The specific purpose of the speech is to inform my classmates uh, my mother why my mother is the most impressive person in my life. And the central idea is my mother's resilience, sacrifices, and belief in education that have shaped me who I am today and continues to shape me. When people talk about role models, they often mention celebrities, athletes, or leaders. For me, it's someone, it's not someone famous. It's the woman who raised me, guided me, and still pushes me to do better every single day. My mom. I want to share with you why my mother is the most impressive person I know. She has shown incredible resilience, made sacrifices that gave me opportunities, and taught me to never stop learning. As her son, I have seen everything up close: the struggles, the sacrifices, and the strength. I can say with confidence that I wouldn't be here without her examples. First, I want to talk about her resilience. Second, I'll share with you the sacrifices she made. And finally, I'll explain how her commitment to education continues to inspire me today. Let me start with her resilience because that's where everything begins.
Okay. All right. So let's start again with your written central idea, which is pretty good. You say my mom positive influenced my life because she's strong, selfless, and determined. Okay. Now, again, like we were saying with Kurt, you want to in some way in, include impressive person, okay? Because that's the assignment, impressive person. Um, but then when we move down and listen to what you're going to tell us about, it's something very different, kind of. It's not really the same as what we were talking about. So you have to keep this consistent. Decide which of these characteristics you want to stand out the most as your um, main points and stick with it and be consistent and consistently let the audience know these are the main points. Okay. So maybe some of the stuff that you said, well, we'll get down there a little bit later. Let's start off with your attention getter, which looks a whole lot like the example, right? So we don't want to look like the example. We want to come up with our own ideas that um, haven't already been used by somebody else's work. So that being said, we know they're pretty good for that. And then we move again to that central idea. So, well, in some way, relate, because I don't think you did that. You did say, I mean, yeah, relate. You did reveal. You said, for me, this person is my mom. So you did reveal. Um, but again, get in that, and this is an example why she's my impressive person. But you didn't relate it back to the audience. So in some way, find a way to connect back to your um, audience. How does that message connect with your audience? The central idea again, you used the one that you said, how she's been a steady source of encouragement, guide, and strength through my life. And then you say resilience and discipline. So, and but I'm thinking that because you said, let's first delve into the resilience. So that's definitely one of the things that you want to focus on. And we can get in some of these other adjectives in the body of the speech, but we have to, in some way, relate it back to these three main points, or however main points you want to do between 2 and 5. But you can't just rattle off a whole lot of characteristics, because now the audience is confused. Well, which one is the main point? Like, what is he really trying to focus on? Why is she his impressive person? Okay, so we have to figure that out. And then, of course, in the establish goodwill and credibility section, you need to tell us about why you're an expert to talk about your mom. We know you're her son, right? Um, but in some way, because that's what we were saying, like speeches like that's kind of hard sometimes. But you can talk about how your mom talked to you a lot about her life and her experience, and other people told you things like her other family members may have given you information about your mom and type of person she was as a child, and who she is today, so that in some way you can convince us that we should believe what you say. That's what we call sometimes when you're talking about your mom, we call that initial credibility. Like, people had that right off the bat, they don't have to work for it. But because this is an exercise and you're going to write different types of speeches, we want to in some way see and know that you know how to do that. And then finally, whatever are those points, which again, you came back to strong, selfless, and determined, right? So maybe you might want to change the determined to resilient, because I think you want to talk about how she overcame a lot of obstacles and stuff, right? Yeah. So maybe you might turn that word determined into something like resilient. Okay. And then
I
go ahead.
Yes, I did change that to resilience. The notes that you left on my outline when I posted it,
Oh,
I
okay.
did change that to resilience. So it's different than the initial preparation outline that I first posted. And one more question. So the way that you said that, so you are asking us to focus on one of these, uh, uh, one of these adjectives, and
Not
one that
one,
you, Mhm.
however many you want from 2 to 5.
Okay. Oh, and
But
one
if you
that
name
be,
5, then you need to talk about all 5 separately.
so that would be more in the body of the speech itself, not in the introduction.
Well, you need to tell us like what you're going to talk about. In the introduction, you're going to do it right in the preview of the main points. That's where you're
Oh,
going to say those things.
okay.
Okay. All right. Good job, Mohammed. Who's next?
I can go next.
Ideologically, Kurt. Okay. Who'd like to go next?
Me, Vitor.
Okay, Vitor, let me get your speech. Okay. All right, we're ready.
Okay. Imagine being 17, losing your mother, and being abandoned by your father, completely alone, with nothing but 2 bottles of water in your refrigerator. That was my mom's reality. But instead of giving up, she found strength. She sought over, became a teacher, and later a single mom who gave me everything I needed, even when she had almost nothing. Growing up watching her taught me something I'll never forget, that every challenge, no matter how hard, carries a lesson that help us grow stronger and wiser. I'm really proud to talk about her today because I've seen her strength my whole life in every sacrifice, every long day of work,
Stop.
a- and in the way she raised me to face life with courage and kindness. So today, I want to share her story her struggles, her victories, and the wisdom she passed on that still guides me every single day.
Okay, and of course, you would need that transition from the introduction into your conclusion. All right. Okay, so you had a pretty good central idea, but I think like some others, your attention getter is revealing too much about your impressive person. So you might want to come up with a different imagination scenario that's a little more broad. Um, well, I mean, you probably won't get that in, but you did try to make that your first main point. It looks like so. You might not be so specific and maybe say something like, um, imagine being a teen um, who lost, who felt like they lost everything that mattered to them in the world, and the only thing they had left were 2 bottles of water in the refrigerator. Okay, because it seems like you do want to get into more detail about that situation, so we don't want to reveal that right up in the attention getting. And then you did a good job by revealing the message by saying, and that was my mother's reality for many years ago. You could, if it, I really feel like if you want to use that, you can, but then don't focus so much on it in the body. Like, don't make that your main point. So if you want to say that and then say, that was my mother's reality for many years ago, to be that specific about it, it's okay. But also stick in there. And this is an example of why she's my impressive person. Okay. But then in that body, don't make that one of your main points because we got that message about the the triumph she lived through as a teen, and then in some way relate that message back to your audience because you started listing her qualities, but it doesn't belong right there. We just want to relate the message and reveal the specific purpose. Then your central idea again, it's very good. Um, you say my mother's life taught me that every challenge is an opportunity to learn and grow stronger, and it does match what you were talking about earlier in your central idea, where you said wisdom. Well, in your specific purpose, you said strength and wisdom. My mother's strength and her wisdom inspired you. And I think those 2 things are the 2 things that you probably want to talk about in your as your main points. And from those, you can get a lot in if you talk about strength, right? And even if you wanted to talk more about how your mom overcame some obstacles, that could be a strength thing. Or you can add a third one, a perseverance. Okay. Um, but figure it out exactly what it is you want to say. And then related, we all love our moms. We all feel that they are special, but there's always just that one special thing that connects you and your mom that maybe nobody else could even imagine. And then people might, say, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's how you would relate that. Now, you said you've known, you're proud to speak about your mom because you've seen her strength firsthand. You've seen but try to, again, use things that are not the actual main points that you're going to talk about in there when you say how long you've known her. She talked a lot about her experiences and how she dealt with them, how she survived them, um, uh, and maybe other people told you about it, and so forth. So in that way, you're establishing the credibility that we can actually believe what you're saying. And then finally, your preview of your main points. Again, basically you talk about strength through perseverance, and how she developed the wisdom to overcome obstacles, right? Those are basically the things that you want to talk about. And then, like we said earlier, make sure that you make that transition. So the audience knows, okay, we're getting into the meat of the message now. All right. Thanks, Victoria.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Who's next?
I'll go.
Okay, Tenacious.
I'm so nervous. Don't mind me if like my voice starts
No,
cracking.
no. Okay, so that's one of the things we never do. Never let the audience see us sweat. And for goodness sake, don't tell them you're nervous. Don't tell them you just don't think you're gonna do a good job. Because number one,
I believe in myself.
there you go. Because that's the main thing. You're psyching yourself out. You don't want to do that just before you speak. You want to have confidence. I believe in myself. I know I could do this. You can. You can.
Okay. Have you ever met someone who's so determined about their future, not nothing could stand in their way? Someone who had their heart set on becoming a professional athlete? Someone who never gave up, who inspired others, especially the youth, through their determination, confidence, love, and hard work? Someone who chased their dreams all the way to NFL? I want to tell you about someone who proves that dreams could come true. Imagine you're 7 years old, you're flipping on the TV one day and seeing someone you grew up with running onto the NFL field wearing the number 27 jersey for the 49ers. For me, that's special cousin. That person is my cousin Jair Brown. We all have dreams, whether it's becoming an athlete, an artist, or a business owner. Jair's journey show what it really takes to make dreams come true, hard work, patience, and a strong mindset. I've known Jair all my life. He's not just family, he's someone I look up to, someone I watched push through obstacles, stay focused on his goals, and never lose sight on his values. Jair's journey taught me to follow my obstacles to success, and I can be whoever I dream to be if I can put my mind to it.
Okay, all right.
I try to I seen your comment. I try to
Yes. So all that stuff you told us in the very beginning, you got to move that to the main points, and just stick with what you said about imagine flipping on the TV one day.
Okay.
That's it. Okay. And
Okay.
seeing someone you grew up with running onto the NFL field wearing the number 27 jersey for the San Francisco 49ers. Okay.
Okay.
Now, yes, people gonna look at you. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Wait, so I should delete. I want to tell you about someone. Delete that
Yes,
part.
it doesn't go
Remove.
there. You took that goes in the
Okay.
reveal. Okay. but
Okay.
not all that you said. You told us too much. So start
Okay.
right in with um imagine flipping on the TV. Okay. Now I'm looking at your
Okay.
central idea, and it was a mouthful. So we could do say something like um my cousin Jair is my impressive person because he accomplished the goal of becoming an NFL player
Okay.
through, and then I think you talked about hard work, discipline, and perseverance.
Yes.
Okay. That's that right there is very um concise. And I really even wouldn't say NFL player. Um, you could say my cousin is my impressive person because um of his hard work, discipline, and perseverance. Well, yeah, and then you could say to become a
Okay.
NFL star. Okay. All right. So, but good. All right. So you did relate. You revealed part of it, but not the whole part. So you said for me that person is my cousin. Um, and that's an example why he's my impressive person.
Yeah.
Because remember, when you start your speech, you're not going to start with the central idea like we did. You're going to start right
Okay.
in with the imagine attention
Okay.
getter.
Mm-hmm.
So then you reveal the topic some, and then the next and relate it to the audience. So we
Okay.
all have hopes and dreams. We might not all know
Yeah.
an NFL player, but we all can imagine having some hopes and dreams, big hopes and dreams that seem
Yes.
like they're impossible for us to achieve. So that was good in the relate. Again, state that central idea, and then stay with those three things we talked about because you definitely can fit in a lot of what you want to say under those three main points of
Okay.
discipline, hard work, and perseverance. Okay. And of course, you need to transition your audience from your introduction into your body. Good job.
Okay.
See, you did it. You did it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, who's next? Savannah, you still there? Savannah?
I'm still here. I'm just currently driving right now.
Okay, all right, we'll come back to you. At some point, you think you're going to get stable?
Yeah, hopefully I can get to this rest stop.
Okay, all right. Well, be safe. Don't pay attention to the road.
Thank
All right. How about Alexandra?
Okay. Throughout your life, you grow up with many teachers. Some leave a lasting mark on your life. It can either be through school or different programs, like any sport. Miss Clausen wouldn't just come to work, but she would come and inspire others. She was one of the cool teachers that you would go looking for that would be there for you no matter what. She was always very kind and patient when it came to any situation. And what set her apart from my other teachers was how she helped me in my personal life.
Okay. All right. So, okay, let's start with your specific purpose. You said to inform people why Miss Clausen is an important person in my life. Remember, impressive person, right? Because that's the assignment. Your central idea, you selected to do one. And I feel that it was a little incomplete. So you might want to change it to something like Mrs. Clausen is my impressive person because she was able to connect with students like me by being reliable, kind, and patient. Because it seems like that's the things that you were focusing in on the most when you gave us all those examples that didn't belong in the introduction. When you talked about she always shows up, you can rely on her. She's going to be there. She's consistent. Um, you talked about her kindness, and how patient of a person that she is. Now, if you want to do something else, that's fine. But I quickly tried to come up with 3 points that I saw you were focusing on. So we want to keep it simple, right? And complete, because you basically said she's your impressive person. Well, you never said impressive person, but we added that in um, because of how she connect with people. But remember, that's okay. So how she connected with people? How she connected with them by being reliable, um, kind, and patient, or whatever other qualities that you think best describes how Miss Clausen connects with people. Okay?
Okay.
Because connecting with people is part of the first part of, the idea. But then you tell us how to be more concise in your statement. Um, Again, your attention getter looks a lot like the example, so be mindful of that. Try to come up with something that is more original from you. Then in the reveal relate, um, you did, yeah, you didn't really reveal or relate. So you want to in some way say um, that Miss Clausen is that person you're describing in the attention getter. And that's one of the reasons why she's your impressive person. And then relate it back to your audience, um, of why you think she is why you think the message you have about her connects with the rest of the students. Of course, like we had this earlier with someone else, that we all have that special teacher in our lives, that we can think about if we really look back, or even today, who really had who you had the best connection with and felt that they were really in your corner. Okay, because I think because this is school, that students, that your audience is really going to be able to connect with something like that. Then, of course, you state that central idea, and then establish credibility, which I don't think you established the credibility. You talked about her being kind and patient, but in some way you had to talk about how long you were with her. Every day she at 4 o'clock, I remember attending her class and being so excited to get there because of how she made me feel when I was there, and all the rest of the students too had the same idea. In some way, let us know why you're an expert to speak about Miss Clausen in this manner. Okay. And then finally, preview your message with whatever those characteristics you feel are the most important main points that you want to discuss. And in some way, all the things you want to say about her can fit neatly within. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I'm looking at your body language. It's not looking very confident. Okay. All right. So, and at any time, if anybody has any questions, you can certainly ask me, and I'll try to help you with them. Okay, who is next? I think we're getting the hit. I think we're getting this understanding of what we're doing here, right? In this introduction. Okay, who's next? Marissa? Still here, Marissa? Marissa is not here anymore. Okay. All right. How about, I think this is Colin. Colin, are you still here? I mean, Caden.
Yeah, I'm here.
What's your topic, Caden?
It's about my uncle.
Uncle Ryan?
Yep, that's me.
Okay.
I apologize in advance. I'm a little sick.
Oh, okay. I hope you feel
No
better.
worries. Thank you.
Just power through
All
it.
right. You ready for me to read?
Yes.
Okay. Not all heroes wear capes or medals. Some show their courage in silence. Today, I want to talk about someone who embodies that quiet courage, being my Uncle Ryan. My Uncle Ryan is an honorable man who has served our country with pride and inspired me to be who I am. He's not only a U.S. Air Force veteran, but also a devoted family man and a founder of a nonprofit organization. As his nephew, I've seen firsthand how the Air Force has shaped his morals and values, and how those lessons continue to guide him in everything he does. I will be telling you about how my uncle has served our country and how he continued to give back to others who have served, making him my impressive person.
Okay. All right. So, I don't think you need to add that at the end, making him my impressive person, because we got that message early on. You
Okay.
want to leave that audience with those three main points, and then tell them, let's first talk about whatever that first main point is. I know you said that he was a a veteran, but then I think when I was looking down more that you were talking about, not only did he serve his country, but he also served others.
Yeah, he's a nonprofit owner.
Yes, so that's very important. So instead of just focusing on being a veteran, let's say that he served, he not only served his country, he served his country and others.
Okay.
Um, and and the family man, because when you got to the you said he was a family man too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So maybe you want to say, my Uncle Ryan is my impressive person because he not only because he's a family man, or you could say because of his family values,
Okay.
um, and how he served his country and others. And then now those are the main three things I think you're really focusing on
Hmm.
about Uncle Ryan. And then once you start talking about how he served others, that's when you can tell us he's a veteran,
Okay.
war and stuff like that. Um, you did a good job putting in those things that were missing.
Yeah,
We
thank you. I
did
had a
do
lot
a
of
good
IT
job.
issues.
Yes. You revealed and you relayed. It wasn't here in the beginning because I wrote it on here, reveal, relay, establish, but you did that. So
Yeah, I tried revising a little bit. I had a lot
yeah,
of IT issues last week, but all
yeah.
good now.
Okay, so you did a pretty good job. And just remember, you do have a transition. But you said it broadly. Let's see what he has done.
Mhm.
Remember, be specific. Let's first talk about his family values.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
But
Thank you.
you did a good job with that.
Thank you.
All right. I'm feeling very confident that you all are totally understanding this introduction thing. Because remember, if you don't get their attention in the beginning, it's kind of hard to get that message across the way you intend it to be received. All right, who's next? Tim.
Hello.
Okay, Tim.
How many of you can name a scientist or engineer who has over 50 million subscribers on YouTube? Most people can't because until recently, that kind of popularity was reserved for gamers and beauty channels. My impressive person, Mark Rober, is the one who broke that standard. He has achieved a huge following not with drama or gossip, but by explaining the physics or things like the perfect domino stack and the mechanics of a massive water balloon drop. By blending high-level production with serious engineering principles, he has made science undeniably cool, showing millions of people that a curiosity for the world around you can be your greatest superpower. The reason I find him so impressive is how he makes learning of a topic positive and fun, mostly engineering and science. He inspires others to go into that field. My interest in Mark Rober started a few years ago when I stumbled upon a Halloween costume he made using iPads to make it seem like there was a hole in his chest, an idea I've never seen before. That video and countless others since hooked me on the idea that engineering principles are hidden everywhere in the world around us. Today, I want to talk about two reasons why Mark Rober is one of my most impressive person. First, the credibility and real-world experience he brings to his work, and second, his unique ability to turn complex concepts into engaging, entertaining, and educational projects. Let's begin by looking at the foundation of experiences that make Mark Rober such a reliable and respected educator.
Okay. All right. All right. So, first off, the central idea was that you submitted was a bit incomplete. So, we want to make it complete. And to do that, we might say something like, and you also did it in a couple of sentences inside of the outline, but something like, Mr. Roper is my impressive person because he makes learning fun and motivates others to enter the field of science, technology, um, engineering, and math, which we call STEM. Okay. And it's basically two ideas. Now, I know I'm looking here, you called it the credibility and real world experience he brings to the work, which is kind of like two ideas. And his unique ability to turn complex concepts. Okay, so I tried to make it a little more personable and conversational by simply saying that he makes learning fun. And he motivates others to join STEM. Because it seems like that's basically what you're talking about here. If correct me if I'm wrong.
You're right.
Okay. So again, like many others, you had a lot of information in there that really belongs in your main points. as supporting materials to back up your claims. So the only thing you need to say is how you said it, Mr. My impressive person, Mark Rober, is the one who broke that standard and is an example of why he's my impressive person. And then I didn't see you relate. But again, you can talk about how we all have people in our lives that inspire us, or teachers, or something like that, that relates the message back to your audience. Okay, so the central idea, you would then repeat that after you reveal and relate. And then I didn't really see much of you giving us the reason why we should believe you. So talk about how long you've known him. You were a student of his, and maybe even after you were a student in his class, you continue on in his after school program or something like that, that really lets us know that we can believe what you're telling us. And then finally, stick with that central idea where we talked about what those main points are going to be. Okay, and give a good transition, which you did have it, but you had you said, let's talk about why he's a reliable educator. So you want to probably say, let's talk about why he's a fun educator, right? Because that's really what you want to talk about, how he makes learning fun, or how he's an educator who makes learning fun, right? Okay, good. Thanks, Tim. Okay. Did Marissa come back? No. How about, okay, so Gino. Gino still here?
Hello.
Okay, hi, Gino. Love that color.
Thank you. Okay. Have you ever met someone that always looks like they have everything figured out and nothing bothers them? That person is my dad, the most impressive person in my life. He's a hardworking man who always puts his family first and leads by example. My dad has always been someone I've looked up to and can always count on. He's been more than a dad and someone I could talk to anything about. He works long hours every day without complaining and stays positive no matter what challenges come his way. Watching him has taught me what real perseverance looks like. From him, I've learned that hard work pays off, that family comes before everything, and that you can do anything you put your mind to.
Okay. All right. So good essential idea. And I see that you put this together based on what we've been talking about today. So kudos. Good job. Your central idea was concise, to the point. You gave your attention getter was right on point, and you then revealed your topic and then related it to the audience. You gave us the central idea, of course, and then you told us about your credibility and goodwill. Now, a lot of other things you said in there about the qualities you're going to talk about, right? You're going to have to leave that out and put it in the body as supporting material for some of those main points. But other than that, you did a great job. I'm not sure I recall if you had a transition or not.
No.
Okay, so remember to put that transition in.
Okay.
That moves you from. And by the way, we're not talking about the conclusion, but you need a transition there too. Okay.
Okay.
Everybody, you need a transition. And sometimes right there in that transition between the body and the conclusion, you can indicate that you're at the end there instead of saying it right up in the conclusion. Okay, good job, Gino.
Thank you.
Justin. Justin still here? He was going in and out. Okay, he's not. Savannah, did you ever make it?
I'm about 7 minutes, it says, from the rest area.
Okay, so just let me talk briefly a little bit about preparation outline some, and then hopefully by then Savannah will be back and we can hear Savannah and we can wrap it up, okay? All right, so let's talk about, put us back in the gallery, preparation outlines, okay? They're detailed outlines developed during the speech preparation that includes the title, okay, which you're not responsible for in this class. It takes a little bit working on for a good title. A general purpose, okay. I do want you to try to figure out the general purpose because you need to know that in order to develop your specific purpose, right? Which is the other thing that needs to be in your preparation outline. The central idea, the introduction, the main points, the subpoints, the subpoints, and perhaps even the subpoints if you feel your subpoint needs more clarity and explanation. Your connectives, your conclusion, and your bibliography. Now, a lot of students like to give me a works cited page, and that's not what I'm asking you for. So if you do that, I am going to take off because the difference between the two is your bibliography is going to include all of the materials that you researched, that you used for this speech, even if you didn't quote from it at all. Okay, we want all of the information, even if you never talked about it in the speech as a specific quote. You still need to give me that information. So remember, not works cited in this class, bibliography. And the format is MPA. Now, one great thing about modern technology is you can go to the library right on your phone and do all kinds of research. So be mindful. I think that's week 5. Look at those videos about how to use the databases at the school. And the librarians giving the oral presentations are also giving you their information. So you can contact them anytime, day or night. They are your best resource in the library, the librarian, okay? Your best resource. They will help you tremendously in navigating your way through the databases that are available, and there's lots of them. And it's so easy now. You just say, okay, I need a footnote, and it needs, and I need to quote this in APA, and it'll do it for you. And you just copy it and paste it, and then just make a list, copy and paste all those things, and then when it's time to deliver it, you put that in alphabetical order and you submit it. You don't even have to really know how to do APA versus MPA formats anymore. Things are very, very convenient these days. All right. Now, the purpose of the preparation outline, of course, is to help you to prepare the speech. All right. It's the stage where you decide what you're going to say in the introduction, how you're going to organize those main points and supporting materials, and what you're going to say in your conclusion. Now, the guidelines are you want to state the specific purpose of your speech. Okay, it should be a separate unit that comes before the text of the outline itself. So we saw how we were doing that in class, right? This exists to help you evaluate just how well you have constructed the speech to accomplish your purpose. Next, you want to identify your central idea, and I'm asking you to do two, your written and your spoken. All right, now this can be expressed both outside and inside, but I want to see it in both places. I want to see it outside of the text of the outline as well as inside in that introduction as point B. Okay. You want to label the introduction, the body, and the conclusion, but no title goes before it. All right. These labels are not a part of the system of symbolization and indentation that you see on your template. So you include these labels either in the middle of the page and be consistent, or you're going to write these parts of the speech all the way to the left. But whatever you do, stay consistent. Don't put the introduction in the middle and then move the body over here to the left. You want to stay consistent, whichever style you choose to use. Now, you want to use a consistent pattern of symbolization and identification. And you will see me talking about that. This is not the right system of symbolization and indentation. And some people get the system of symbolization right, but they forgot about the indentation part of it, or vice versa. Sometimes you don't do it at all and you just try to create your own method, but the method that you are required to use as the format is what's on your template that's located in weeks 3 and week 6. Now, main points are identified by Roman numerals. Main points are represented with Roman numerals. Subpoints are identified using capital letters. Subpoints are identified by using Arabic numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. And subpoints are represented by small letters. I see people writing a Roman numeral and then a small a, b, and c for your subpoints. No, small letters tell me that you think that is a subpoint. Okay, so if you use the system of symbolization and indentation correctly, there's no need for you to write that title in front of it. So if you're making a main point, don't write the word first main point. Or if you're using a subpoint, don't write subpoint further material. Don't write that, because the system of symbolization lets us know what those ideas represent. Okay, what type of either main point or some type of supporting material they are. Now, how do we determine these subpoints versus a subpoint versus a subpoint? Well, what happens is you have your main idea, right? Your main point. And then from there, you have to have a subpoint. You have to have a subpoint. Now, that subpoint may need further clarification. If it does, you're moving now more to the right with a subpoint. That's supporting the claim above it. If it doesn't support the claim above it, then it's probably time to move back to the left and make that a new subpoint, a second subpoint. I'm sorry, subpoint if you were on a subpoint. But each time you move to explain a point further, you have to move to the right, okay, and then input that supporting materials. All main points need to line up together. All subpoints need to line up together. Subpoints as well as subpoints. All need to line up down the page the same way. If it's not supporting the idea of directly above it, then it's not a supporting thing for it, and then move back over to the left. Okay, that's how you determine those. All points should immediately support the point that is just above it. All right, you want to state the main points and subpoints in full sentences. Okay, none of this, okay, just two words, and there's not even a noun and a verb. Okay, full sentences. They should not be vague labels, and they should represent distinct ideas. Can't have, they should represent distinct ideas. You want to label the transitions, internal summaries, internal previews, and signposts. Okay, transitions tell us that we just left one thought and we're moving on to another. Internal previews tell us what we're getting ready to talk about, and internal summaries tell us what we just spoke about. And then finally, signposts tell us exactly where we are in the speech. They might just be numbers, first, second, third, okay? All types of connectives that you can use to indicate to your audience either what's coming next, what we just spoke about, or where we are. Okay, you're going to also attach a bibliography, but not for this speech, because remember we said that the impressive person speech is an informative speech without the research. Okay, so you're not going to have a bibliography for this. Make sure that if you're going to use a title that is brief, it attracts the attention of your audience, and it encapsulates the main thrust of your speech. But again, you don't need that. You can just say, this is my impressive person. You can just call it the impressive person speech for this class, okay? All right. Another type of outline you're going to be responsible for is the speaking outline. And your speaking outline basically is a brief outline used to jog your memory during the presentation of the speech. The purpose is to help the speaker remember what they believe are the main points or the main ideas of what you want to say. So you're not going to have complete sentences in your speaking outline. There's also basically what you're going to have are keywords and phrases in your speaking outline to jog that memory. You're going to have essential statistics and quotations that you don't want to forget. That you want to say this quote exactly as it is. So you might write that all the way out. You want to also give yourselves instructions or cues that direct and sharpen your delivery. For instance, you might want to say, show slide here. Ask a question here. Demonstrate the second process, the second step in the process here. Okay. Or give yourself cues about delivery in terms of, clap your hands right now and at this point to get their attention, or something you might do to gain your audience's attention. Now, a couple of guidelines for the speaking outlines is they always follow the same visual format as the templates that we have. Now, of course, it's going to follow that template. So, but it's not going to be filled with a bunch of paragraphs and sentences. It's going to be keywords and phrases, cues, okay, statistics, quotes, things you want to make sure you remember as you want them to be said. You want to make sure that it's legible. Of course, I see students all the time submit me cards that they're going to speak on, and I can't read them at all. And I wonder, how can they read them? So if you have bad handwriting, you might want to type it. Or get somebody who has good penmanship to write it for you. But you want to make sure it's legible. You don't want to be in the middle of your speech and you can't even read your own handwriting. Okay, and that is big enough, and you can easily, get to the ideas and get back to your audience quickly. You want to keep the outline as brief as possible. We talked about that a little. And you want to give yourself cues for delivering the speech. Helps you to know how you want to say something too when you do that. Okay. Are there any questions? Any more questions about outlines and delivery of them? All right, I think you all did a good job today. Really listening and applying the concepts to your speeches. So I can't wait to hear them next week. All right, I'll get those full evaluations to you on the preparation outlines before you deliver your speech. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Professor.
Bye, Professor. Have a good night.
Thank you so
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, I got one question though.
Sure.
The
Have a good night, Professor.
Let me good night, Muhammad. Let me stop the video.